And we have movement from Stanley, ladies and gentlemen.
The Mojave Desert in Nevada is one of the most forbidding stretches of land on the planet, with a landscape reminiscent of the moon and searing heat that stretches human limits. In other words, the perfect place for a driverless Volkswagen to be racing.
We work on a lot of driver assistance systems for the future. So an example would be lane assist or an automatic brake system. If you put all these driver assistance systems together, you end up with an autonomously driving car.
With that goal in mind, ERL engineers tackle their most difficult project to date, the high degree of difficulty DARPA Grand Challenge. What emerged was Stanley, a military tough Touareg that was engineered to capture the $2 million grand prize.
The goal was to develop a robot that could drive an previously unrehearsed course of up to 175 miles completely autonomously. This was scientifically unknown terrain. Nobody had ever done this before, and a lot of people have actually said this is impossible to do.
The ERL teamed up with Stanford University to design and build Stanley. Massive brainpower was devoted to the project, but well-defined parameters kept the process on track.
Our contribution was everything that had to do with the hardware. So I typically say jokingly, if you can touch it, it was our problem. If you can't touch it, it was Stanford's problem.
This isn't a race for overnight sensations. The Stanley team had miles of on-site testing to go, but the result made history, the first ground vehicle robot to finish the Grand Challenge.
They were camped out in the desert for months on end. They worked 14-hour days to repair the car, to write software, to make modifications. So yeah, it was a lot of work, and fortunately it paid off.
Way back in the day when your father was dating your mother, he may have driven her to the movies in something like this, a 1964 Volkswagen microbus. But thanks to an extreme makeover by the Electronics Research Lab, as long as you have your date, you can have the movie drive with you.
We came up with this concept of using an old vehicle to showcase new technologies.
Meet the Chameleon, the world champion of new technologies. VW's inventive engineers embedded 15 safety and comfort enhancements into this time machine and took it on tour. They brought the house down with LED headlamps, steering wheel touchpad, electric powertrain, and vane recognition for keyless entry. Not to mention a digital bumper sticker with a sense of humor.
They're much more creative and innovative usually than the people who've been working in the industry for 20 years. They dare to do things that we say, oh, it will not work. Sometimes it works.
What doesn't work is the cost of this retro bus, which means it's not for sale at a dealer near you. But it is true to its original roots, and some of the innovations should soon be commonplace.
We do a lot of prototyping, we try to include them in a car, and then if it makes sense, if really we feel that the application has a strong potential, we showcase that to engineers in Germany.
We use this early access basically to have a shorter development cycles and to scale down the time to market.
The success of the Chameleon and Stanley has spurred new innovation at the ERL, with the largest chunk of research time devoted to driver safety.
I think in the future the car is going to be aware of what's around it. It's also going to be aware of what's going on inside it, what the driver is doing, if the driver is distracted, for example, or not, and then will act appropriately.
If there's an accident ahead of you, the car in front of you could communicate that to you, and so you could brake before you get to the accident.
It's very nice, particularly if it goes down to the full braking of stop-and-go traffic, because then you only have to steer.
That goal is still decades away, but if it's a reality in the minds of engineers, it could someday be a reality on the road.